Jesus. Normally we take 30, 40 minutes just to catch up here on this beautiful Monday morning. But hey, let's do it. Let's fire. Let's fire early. Let's fire often. Good morning, Samboners. Welcome back to another episode of the Samboner Show. Somewhat of a new segment here, folks, on this beautiful, actually, no, it's not beautiful. It's a rainy Monday morning, coming off another full cap of football Sunday. 2 games remain. Let me do some introductions here without further ado. Joining us from the Sports Bash, the voice of 97.3 ESPN Radio, Mr. Mike Gill. What's up, Mike?
Give myself a round of applause. There's no studio audience here. Yes, man.
We can work on the studio audience, and maybe if Jack actually does some producing for once, we can get a round of applause in there.
That's
too.
What they call the good old golf clap. And also joining us, an all-timer, Temple's finest, Mr. Colin Thompson, the CT special, ladies and gentlemen, which we have yet to see here in Hoagie Month. That's either here nor there.
Yep.
But appreciate you guys coming on. This is a lot of fun. You know, if some of you caught up over the summer, was fortunate enough to join Mr. Mike Gill on Friday afternoons during the happy hour segment. That said, Mike decided to pretty much take the entire month of August off, and we have yet to get that going again. Mike, talk to us about that. I think you took the last 2 weeks of the summer off. You did some traveling. You head up to Williamsport. Talk to us about your summer, man. Share some stories.
I always take like the last 2 weeks off of August to get ready for the football season. Yeah, and I was supposed to do some other things. Some things kind of derailed my travel. So I impromptu made a visit to Williamsport, checked out some Little League World Series, came back, took the ferry over to Delaware, did a little Rehoboth and Dewey Beach, then came back over and then rerouted up to like Beach Haven, Long Beach Island, up that way, and just kind of did a little end of the summer locals thing. And now I'm back, man, every day, 2 to 6, grinding it out for the football season, you know.
Yes,
but
sir.
I will say one of the big topics we had one day on the Samboner Happy Hour Friday segment, you know, he just mentioned it's Hoagie Month, and down the shore, of course, we call it a sub. So, you know, the White House sub shop, are they supposed to be called the White House Hoagie shop? It would be ridiculous.
I mean, that is the great debate. And for some reason, sub actually rolled off my tongue not too long ago in the middle of a review. And I got a lot of shit for that. The Philly Samboner natives were not happy about the sub comment. But look.
So let me tell you something, Mick. So one of the shows we did, I said it's a sub where I am. It's a hoagie maybe where you are. Well, the Cape May County people, I guess they must call it hoagie down that way.
Hoagie.
More so than we do in Atlantic County. Because Atlantic County, we've got White House Sub Shop, Sacco Subs, Dino's Sub Shop, Pete's Subs, Vic's Sub Shop. I mean, these are all historical sub shops right here in Atlantic County. They're not called Dino's Hoagie Shop. That would sound asinine.
Yeah.
It's the whole pork. Right, it's the whole pork roll Taylor ham debate, right? Like we don't call it we call it.
Where's the line though? Where's the dividing? Is it only this Atlantic County circle? I guess is the.
And look, to be honest with you, you know, we embrace the debate here at the Samboner Show, and I have nothing against those 5 places. As a matter of fact, at one point I had White House as the number 1 on the top 10 hoagie list. That said, there is just something to be said. Like to your point, you know, it's a sector of Jersey. It's pretty much all of California. And then there's a third state that brings it into the equation. I'm missing it. Some
subs?
Yeah, they call it sub. There's like 3 states that call it sub.
Florida,
New Jersey, California.
Florida's all subs because it's pub subs, Publix. So you can add Florida to that mix too from going to school down there.
Well, and you got like Subway, which is a national chain. It calls it a sub. Jersey Mike's a sub above the rest. I mean, still national chains. But
Jersey Mike has to be the best chain hoagie, right? Like it has to be.
Quiznos. I like the Quiznos sub.
I like the melted cheese, the Italian dressing. It was very nice.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. See, people can't explain why it's a hoagie. The sub is a derivative of the submarine style of bread.
Correct.
It looks like a submarine.
Well, they all look like a submarine in some
shape. That's where the term comes from. Sub. It's on a
submarine. There we go.
Well, why is it called a hoagie?
No, Mike, we won't know that answer, but I'll tell you this. You are 100% correct. In Cape May County, it's 100% a hoagie. everywhere I've gone, it's a hoagie down there, and I get it. Up north, people are a little different. I'll say this:
It is.
the people in Cape May County are probably transplants from Philly more, right? And they now live down there. Maybe they raise their family down there. But when you're like Atlantic County North, it's like more of a, multiple generations living up there.
And multiple sports, probably more of a multiple sports team following, like people in Atlantic City, LBI, maybe shooting for the Giants, Jets, Devils, where more on the Cape May County side, it's all Philadelphia sports for sure.
That's
For the most part, yeah, because of the casinos, you have a lot of people who moved from the north part down to the south to work at the casinos. But the divide is real. There is a divide. It's right there on that. Actually, Ocean City is it Cape May County or should it be its own county?
Yeah, it's weird sometimes. I'll get texts from family like, there's some crime happening in Cape May. And I'm like, no, it's Cape May County. Like it's literally massive. Like, I wanted to ask you this before we keep moving it along here. What's been the impact on Atlantic City sports gambling wise? Like, is it made the town better? Is it still a town that's trending down? Is it trending upwards? Because the conversation amongst my friends is, hey, should we go to a AC for a bachelor party? March Madness is a great time. What are your thoughts on AC?
I love AC. I know it's got a lot of bad pubs sometimes. People, it's funny. You write anything about Atlantic City and post it, and it's like a polarizing, blah, blah, blah. Can't get out of there. It has so much potential. You have this great city on an island on the water, and, it's like a lot of cities. They have a lot of problems, but I love Atlantic City. I always try to find the positives. I think the sports books I'm at Ocean every Monday. That place is unbelievable. I couldn't imagine having a nicer place to go watch NCAA, a college football Saturday, and NFL Sunday. And with that, a lot of things have opened that are not gaming elements, you go to a lot of these casinos now, they're all open in restaurants and bars and clubs and places to go and do other things than just gaming stuff. So I definitely think the sports book element. Now, keep in mind, everybody can bet on their phone. These are places to go for like night outs, do things with, to bring people, because like you said, if you're not from here, you might say, let's do a weekend in Atlantic City. So I definitely think it's added to the tourism part more so than the locals. If you go up there, you might just place a bet on your phone. But if you're someone like, that's coming out for a weekend, I think it's certainly done that. It has spawned so many different things. I'm at Chickies and Pete's every Thursday. The sports book is right across from us.
Unreal. To Trop?
Yes, every Thursday.
Awesome setup.
It's an awesome Chickies and Pete's setup. Awesome. And right across from it's the sports book. So if you're at Chickies and Pete's, you can kind of go back and forth. But if you walk through the quarter to get to the sports book, I mean, there are bars and restaurants and shops and everything that have all been, I'm imagining, spawned because of, the impact of the sports gambling.
So yeah, one hell of a story too, not to kind of get off the topic, but Chickies and Pete's, like I was driving somebody to Chickies and Pete's the other day, and just thinking back, I was talking to another buddy during lunch. Like my dad used to take me to the original Chickies and Pete's in Mayfair. And here we are 25 years later. And this guy has become not only the premier sports bar in your hometown, but the premier sports bar in a lot of different cities throughout South Jersey.
I tell you, I was at the Phillies game a couple Sundays ago. You walk around the stadium, so much to do. So your head's just going like this at Citizens Bank Park.
It's like a roller coaster ride, Mike. I know where you're going.
The only place that had a line was Chickies and Pete's.
And it's long.
Everything else is kind of walk right up and get what you need. People are waiting in line for Chickies and Pete's. I mean, it was just zigzagging. Like I said, how many times have people had these fries, and yet they're willing to wait in line on a hot summer day to get those fries?
It's kind of like the fries at Archbishop Wood, though, Colin. Everybody got in line for those French fries, baby. Little cheddar cheese, little ketchup.
You got the crinkle.
I'll say this. It could be the most non-negotiable There's no argument about the Chickies and Pete's fries, right? Like, there's none. You're with your wife, you're with your friends, you're with someone from out of town. It's got to be right. Cheesesteak. I don't want something that heavy. I already ate. Maybe I want a sweet little later, so I just want a snack now. The cheese dip, like it's a non-negotiable. Like you don't have.
People don't realize this. They have sweet potato fries, the Chickie sweets, and they serve them with like a maple syrup. Oh yeah, you get the half and half. You get the regular Chickie Pete's crab fries, and then you get the Chickie sweets. They're like a thicker crinkle cut but they're sweet potato fries. And
Dude,
they serve.
you guys are funny, man. Now, that Chickies at the ballpark, though, that's a well-oiled machine. It's like a
Oh.
roller coaster ride. You basically just walk in, grab your fries, grab your chicken fingers, grab your
Unreal.
24-ounce Bud Light, and roll out.
And they're just printing it. They're just printing it. No doubt about it. A veteran order, the CT special is a hoagie, half a cheesesteak. But
let me tell you, those guys put so many fries up on the counter with no thought. They just keep putting them up there because they know they're going. I said, there must be 75 things of fries up here, and there's not one that's going to sit up there at the end of that.
You wonder why they call us the fattest city in America. But before we get completely off the rails, like who knew? That's the beautiful thing about podcasting. You get on the first 10 minutes, we're sitting here talking about French fries at 9:30 in the morning. I mean, that might be an issue on our hand. But before we jump into more loaded, action-packed weekend, shout out to our proud sponsors at the Original Fudge Kitchen, shipping fudge all over the country, chocolate, peanut butter, vanilla. You know the drill at this point. If you're not ordering your Fudge Kitchen and getting your fudge game on, you're clearly missing out. Another big shout out to our good friends at the Wharf in Wildwood. Mike, you know the Wharf all too much. Just doing a phenomenal job right there on the main causeway, the new outside bar. Still just a great spot to unwind and get there in the fall, watch some football games. I'm pretty sure they still have the live music going, the sushi bar, the hot honey pizza.
Sure was packed this weekend.
Was it? Were you there?
Packed. I was in Cape May. It was packed.
Oh, that's right. You had that wedding.
Avalon was the zoo. It was a little quieter, but Cape May on Saturday, I was going over to make a beer run right over the bridge. And I turned and looked up the bridge. You kind of could see it when you make a left out of my neighborhood. And I'm like, nope, not making the beer run today. It was bumper to bumper coming into town and leaving town. I couldn't even get to the Seaview, which is right next to my house, to get some takeout beer because so many people were leaving too. Sunday was a mass exodus now, and we'll get into it, Mick. I want to have you keep rolling here.
You're good.
But the effect of Eagles not playing on Sundays,
that's a good
you could see the traffic, more traffic around midday when we were leaving to come back to Annapolis. That would never happen before. And on the flip side, the Ravens were playing at 1 o'clock and noon. So we flew through the Baltimore area to get home, which usually we hit traffic. So it was a real catch-22 where we hit some traffic leaving the shore.
We were going to head down too, Colin. They said that there was an advisory. They were giving people tickets to anyone that went in the ocean.
Yeah,
The rip was so bad.
There were still people on the beach hanging.
The last couple of days. In fact,
really?
I read an article or I was reading something. Some of these beaches. My girlfriend's son is a lifeguard in Strathmere. They still have some guarded beaches, which is a small little beach, but like a town like Margate, unattended. No, they don't have any lifeguards in the month of September. I heard the police had to come out and save somebody in the water the other day.
And that's a problem, right? Like there should be like two beaches. Like, hey guys, we're going to pay. You can pay to come to the beach. It's going to pay for the lifeguards to be there that day. Like it's after the season, right? That there should be that.
Were you on the beach at all this summer? I mean, they made enough money to pay for.
No, I know that. No doubt. Like, listen, no, you don't have to. I think it's asinine that we pay for beaches, anyways. When you go to Florida and it's like you don't pay, but not. I digress. I think they should make that available for people. Yeah, it was packed. It was a zoo.
The weather is still nice enough for the locals. And look, I went to the Phillies game the weekend after. It was the first week of the football season. The Eagles played 4:25. I said, "We'll go up, watch the Phillies." And then turn right back and get home in time for the Eagles game. Okay. I had the football games on my phone, yada, yada. I figured no one would be on the road. Summer's over. People are, bottleneck. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I thought you guys were done coming down here.
No, Shuby's.
Rosh Hashanah. It was also a major Jewish holiday. That could have been another reason.
Bro,
this was the week before Rosh Hashanah.
I saw somebody post a picture. I'm a part of a Temple football fans group, and it's a shame. It's what happened to the program. It's not this guy's current fault. I saw someone blame Rosh Hashanah for the fact that there was no one at the game this weekend. I almost flipped the table over last night. So Temple had 10,000 people at the game. Not even. There was nobody there. Kurt Warner posted a picture at the game with his wife and cheering on his son. Guys, there was nobody. I'm not just exaggerating. I'll send the picture.
Yeah.
Which is a crying shame.
I went to games when West Virginia and Temple, I went to West Virginia. Temple was in the Big East at the time, and they were still playing at the Vet. This is how long ago this was.
Yeah.
You'd go to a game there, and I'm telling you, you could count 200 people. Like
that was this weekend.
1, 2, 3. I mean, it was bad. So you're saying it was like that?
They played Norfolk State.
Oh.
And everyone's like, you got to play. It was just a shame. It's a shame for where it fell from. I digress because, man, that's a great tailgate. That was a fun time. It was such a good heyday. I was very lucky to transfer there. But, yeah, Jersey Shore is still filling up, man, which is great. And we're going to talk a lot about it.
Fireman was this weekend in Wildwood, right?
Yeah. LCMR football was there. Really cool. They were walking the convention center, I believe it is, Mike. They walked the convention center the same amount of steps that they walked on 9/11. All the firefighters and our football kids were there. It's a cool community down there. Mike, I mean, obviously Mick's on there. Mick's down the shore all the time. Mike's show is killer. If you're not listening to Mike's show, guys, download the 97.3 app. I think Philly Sports Talk Radio gets absolutely redundant.
Mike, do you stay? Would you during your show? I love all your takes on the Phillies. Would you say that your show is primarily a Philadelphia Phillies sports radio show?
No, I mean Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers. I mean, we try to. Hey, listen, I don't take a lot of calls just because the redundancy of calls, not because I it's like you hear the same people calling over and over and over again, and it's like I have enough to say. We do take text messages, and I'll read off people's texts. But I let the people's text messages kind of guide me to what I want to talk or what I'm talking about. If you're telling me I want to talk Phillies and I'm reading off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Phillies text, I'm saying, okay, this topic's catching on. Phillies and Eagles right now. There was a time where the Sixers, man, they were right up there. I feel like the Sixers are in a real crossroads right now of apathy again, and that's not good. I mean, from people hate the process, love the process. It was a polarizing topic, but the process was born, in my opinion, because of apathy from the fan base. The people just didn't care anymore. From 2002 to 2012, nobody cared. If they made the playoffs, they're going to get knocked out in the first round. Nobody cared. The process, to me, I've always defined it as a business decision. It was a failing business, and now the business is rocking.
Well, the best part is that they tried to spin it into Joel Embiid becoming, quote unquote, the process. No, the process was the tank.
He took that moniker on, Joel. It's one of the reasons why I don't think he'll ever be one of these guys that asked to be traded. He took that on as, yes, I am the face of this process. But I've always said, Josh Harris bought the team. It's like anybody who buys a business. You buy a business, you don't have to keep the same decor. You don't have to keep the name of the business. You walk in and say, I want new walls. I want new counters. I want a new bar. I want new TVs. That's what he did with the Sixers. He said, rip this ugly place down and start over. I want everything new. And hence the process was born. And he has a completely different look of his team than the previous one. People care. People argue. People bitch and moan about losing on Tuesday night in February now. Back then, you lose on Tuesday night in February, nobody would even know they played.
It's another Tuesday.
Right? We treat every Sixers game now like it's an Eagles Sunday, and that's because of the process.
I love the process. I think it was genius. They just whiffed on 2 or 3 guys. Yeah. If they just hit it 25%, they just hit at a 25% rate, they're the best team in the NBA.
They made so many bad moves and had so many unfortunate
bounces.
I don't know if they're coincidences or what happened, but
Noel.
There's got to be a 30 for 30 waiting to happen.
Oh, it has to be. I mean, you hire Hinkie. He has this thing. You push him out with the Colangelo bozos. The guy ends up having a burner account from his wife. How does that get factored in? How do you know that that's going to happen? You then draft a guy in Ben Simmons and Fultz, who none of them attempted a shot in the entire time they were here. How do you draft 2 players and neither one of them attempt a shot?
And 2 guys that were no argument, 1 or 2.
Yes.
Right. Like, and I feel bad I've made it clear. Like, I feel horrible for those guys. As an athlete, they just shit down their leg. Like they just did, for a lack of better
Mike,
term.
let me ask you a quick question. Ben Simmons, was he shooting with the wrong hand the whole time?
I don't know, man. Listen, I could say this is what I could vouch for. I went to a lot of Sixers games during the process years and then afterwards. I went probably 25 games a year.
Yep.
I watched Ben Simmons hit 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 in the corner. He shot threes all the time in pregame warmups. We all saw his videos and we're tired of them. But this is what I would say. Even if he never shot a three ever, go back and watch his summer league highlights.
Unreal.
That guy, if they had that guy, they would have won a title. He was banging elbow jumpers, pulling up from all over the place. No threes. I'm not saying, but he was a difference maker. And then he got to the league, and it was like, what happened to that guy? Crazy.
Absolutely. It was a disease.
Turned into a serviceable. Now he's not a number one overall pick, but he's turned into a pretty decent player, Fultz.
Yeah, it's a shame. It really is, because Ben Simmons and Joel got me back into the Sixers. Them and JJ Redick. I mean, it was awesome. I was so like Sixers hats. I'm in college at Florida. We're cheering the process. And then it just crumbled. I was a Ben fan, because even a bad version of Ben is an all-NBA player.
Yeah. I said, listen, I don't hate Ben. In fact, I've been accused of being on Ben Simmons' payroll because, like, I don't hate the guy. I don't think he sucks. I appreciate what he did well and how it helped this team win but also acknowledging he wasn't the transformational player we hoped he was. That doesn't mean he sucks.
No,
he was, to me, I always said he was like Dennis Rodman. Rodman was a Hall of Famer. You just appreciated what Rodman did because you didn't expect him to do more. You appreciated what he was really, really good at. Simmons, you expected more, so you didn't appreciate what he was really good at.
Yeah, no, I can agree.
Hall of Fame role player.
I attest to you, Mike. I do, because I think he did have a ton of strong qualities. I mean, the guy was a triple-double threat. But at the end of the day, that shooting aspect of his entire game was the most frustrating piece. Like, shoot the goddamn ball. Get the monkey off your back and let's roll.
I said he made a 3-point shot in a preseason game against, like, the Chinese national.
Remember that?
You remember that?
You went crazy.
Why in preseason would he just not go out there and say, you know what? I don't care what it looks like tonight. I'm just going to fire away. And then Tuesday night, you're up by 25 points. Remember when Brett Brown said, hey, I want to see one a game. You're up 25. Go down there, jack a three. If it goes in, great. If it doesn't, okay, at least I'm getting. I never understood why he just absolutely refused.
He had a glitch.
That's what I think that ultimately, ended up doing him in.
Colin, you got to cut that take up from Mike and send it into ESPN just in the event they do a 30 for 30.
There you go. We're back live on the Samboner Show. Not for only me. We're going to Mike Gill, and you just have Mike going postal. No, I mean, listen, I think a lot of it has to do with, and it's not the city's fault because you wouldn't want it any other way. Trust me, I played in Charlotte, and we lost 7 in a row, including a loss to the Eagles and the Vikings and a lot of really close losses, and no one gave a shit. And then the last game, they booed us off, and everyone's like talking smack. I'm like, dude, if we're in Philly or with the Giants, we're booed 6 games ago. So I think a lot of it has to do with the access to players in the media now. Philly's a tough media market. If he's playing in Dallas, who, is successful, they have the dough, it's a good owner, a lot of similarities maybe to Philly in a way. But the fans aren't the same. The media coverage aren't the same. I think
there's something to be said about that, Colin, too. And I brought that up on my Friday segment, just how loyal of a fan base Philadelphia is, especially the Eagles. Like, granted, what happened last week to Aaron Rodgers going down in the first 5 minutes is a dagger, right? But let me ask you a question. And I'm not Jets fans.
It's like when Randall went down that year. Pretty much the same. Nobody's
walking out of the stadium. Nobody's running out of their house venting, right? You still got to hunker in and get behind your team. Like, there's something to be said about Eagles fan base. I mean, again, it's all very cultish. Everybody's got a different cult.
The Jets,
Giants. I was like, come on already. Like, so many people, these big time influencers getting on their little soapbox and just storming out of their house or running out of the stadium. Like, really? Yeah. That would never happen in Philadelphia. It wouldn't.
I think it's different. The Jets are.
You guys remember when Randall got hurt, Bryce Paup against Green Bay, week 1, I think it was 92. Randall, they have this unbelievable defense. Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Clyde Simmons, Seth Joyner. This defense was legit. And Randall had finally kind of taken over from Jaworski, and they were going to do it that year, finally, And then he gets hurt in the first game of it. Now, it wasn't the 4th play of the year, but he gets hurt in the first game. And then the quarterback, they brought in Jim McMahon. Then they had like Brad Gable. And I mean, Jeff, man, what the heck was that? They had like 8 different quarterbacks that season. It was brutal. But the expectations of this is finally the year and for it to go crashing down. But Eagles fans still showed up to every single
Absolutely. Sold out.
But
the guys,
again,
Jeff.
I think the one thing we're missing here, and I don't really remember, that wasn't my error. It's born in 93. It wasn't really my error. But the Eagles have been literally, other than the Patriots and the Chiefs, the last 2 decades, they've been the team of the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's a lot. I get it. Eagles fans, loyalty. I'm not saying that. I think that Eagles fans, I always say, best fans in the world, not always the best people when I'm traveling and talking to people. And I'm one of those people. So that's what I always say. Like, my wife and I were at a screaming match when they played the Houston Astros last year. She's like, I've never seen it like this before. Because I'm like, I don't have any skin in the game. The Flyers suck. The Eagles, I can't really root for. I'm playing in the league. I digress. I think the Birds, it's a different cult because of the success. The Jets, my uncle's from Belmar, New Jersey. He's a diehard Jets fan.
Colin, we've had our dog days, man.
I know, but that was a long time ago. The Eagles have been the team of the NFL. Like, literally, and I'm just saying the Jets are haunted.
Well, let me tell you.
Haunted.
There was, you're right, Colin, because you remember not too long ago, Howie Roseman may have been the most despised sports figure in Philadelphia.
People he was in a closet.
Hated him, but they hated him. They win the Super Bowl, and then the next year, they're not as good. They're not as good, and then they have the year where Doug ends up getting fired. People hated Howie Roseman, and I always stood behind the guy. I said, look, you're not going to be good every year. The Eagles have had back-to-back losing seasons one time in 25 years.
That's insane.
Can you imagine one time that they have had back-to-back losing seasons, and they're like, 7-9 when they lose. I mean, so to me, Roseman has always been one step ahead. Are you going to be good every single year? No. The years that they have been bad is generally because their offensive line has gotten hurt. The Andy Reid year, when he basically was done, they had 5 guys on the offensive line get hurt that year, and then they hired Chip Kelly. Well, Chip Kelly was good, not because Chip Kelly was good, it's because the entire line came back, and he basically used that offensive line to basically get them to 10 wins. Same as when
Chip's a great coordinator, was not a great GM, but that's a different story. Continue.
College.
Yeah, well,
great coordinator, tough GM. Can't be the GM. Different thing.
Chip had no business being the GM of that team.
Yeah, that was tough.
When Sirianni took over, he took over from Peterson, who the offensive line was decimated by injuries in Peterson's last year. He goes, and then Sirianni, they had no business making the playoffs that year. They made the playoffs because the offensive line was so dominant. They just ran the ball for half a season. So I think Roseman he's well-liked now, but I never had a problem with Roseman. I never was one of these fire Howie guys. So, I mean, but you're right. That's the whole thing is people.
I'm with you, Mike. I'm absolutely with you. I think he'll continue to pull out his bag of tricks. We obviously going to need some help in the secondary. Let's get into the Eagles in a second. But before we do, we're Samboning. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. Love seeing Mike here. Love seeing Colin here. It's Hoagie month. If you went on the Samboner page, you probably wouldn't realize that, but we're out there. We're Samboning. A couple quick shout-outs to a couple friends of the show. Verona Pizza, South Philadelphia. I Samboned there 2 weeks ago. This place is completely off the charts. Jason and the fam holding it down. Such an awesome little spot on the corner of 3rd and Catherine. I think they just rolled out a new hoagie paying homage to who was it? Papali, the Vince Papali special. How could I forget? Another quick shout out to a new player in town, Verona Pizza, Mike, Maple Glen, Pennsylvania. The pizza's fire. We had the cheesesteak over the weekend. I was completely just, lost for words. Like, it was in the 9s all day long. An easy 9.3, 9.4 cheesesteak. These guys are going to continue to crush it right here in the suburbs of Philadelphia, Montgomery County, Maple Glen, Pennsylvania. We're Samboning. Over the weekend, we had a couple 4 or 5-year-olds Samboning some bagels, followed up with my 75. No, never mind. There was a couple other people in there, but my 65-year-old aunt. Like, it's a beautiful time to be a Samboner, whether you're 4 years old, 80 years old, 25 years old. Everybody just needs to continue to get out there. We just dropped a couple T-shirts. Get in there, take a look, take a bite. But yeah, back to the weekend. And you know what? It was a beautiful weekend because honestly, buy or sell on the Thursday night football, I'm not a huge fan, Mike Colin, but to have that win under our belts heading into a weekend. Look, I didn't get a chance to really watch a lot of football yesterday. I probably spent more of that time on the backyard trampoline, but it's a beautiful time. And I love the fact that football is back and the Birds are 2-0. The NFC East looks real strong, though. Every team is 2-0, but the Commanders. Give me your take, Mike, Colin.
I like the Thursday night game early in the year because you're right. Yesterday, I cleaned out the garage. I had the Phillies game on. I ran a couple errands. I didn't feel that I had to be glued to the TV all day. I had YouTube TV on my phone, so I got Chiefs, Jaguar. YouTube TV, by the way, you got to give them a shout out. They do the multi-view now. When there's
Awesome.
2 games on at the same time, you can watch them both they put them. Have you seen the college football Saturdays they do? They give you 4 game mixes, and you could pick they got 15 different options of 4 boxes that you can pick. Like I had West Virginia, Pitt, and then in the other box I had Syracuse, Purdue, and it's crazy. But I like the Thursday night game early in the year. I don't like it later.
Agreed.
Now next week the Eagles play Monday night,
Agreed.
so I don't like back to back.
It's sad to say the Eagles only this year have 3 1:00 football games. They are loaded in the primetime section. To your point, Colin.
That's what happens when you're good, right? And I always tell this, I think fans don't realize you're on the road. It's a primetime game. Are they away this Monday?
They are. They're actually at Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football, 7:15.
So I'm going to take the fans into this real quick. So first off, it's brutal. Now, health-wise, it's awesome. This is like a massive bye week for them. It's like a triple bye. It's really good for the team longevity. They're trying to win in December when it matters. Wins matter now, but they really matter in November, December. So they're going to play that game at 8:30. The game will be over by 11.
No. This week there's a double header.
Right, so
there's a double header Monday Night Football game this week. They're playing at 7:15 because there's 2 Monday nighters going on at the same time. They're trying that this year.
Okay, so I'm Eagles tight end. Great. I'm prepared to go. We get in Sunday. They'll fly Sunday during the day. They're going to sit around all day in the hotel, go for a walk around the Inner Harbor, all that cool stuff. I did it as a player too. Maybe got breakfast at a local spot. Fast forward, the game ends. Okay. It's 11 o'clock. You get off that field. 7:15, excuse me, 3 hours. You're going to get off at 10:15. Thankfully, the Tampa Airport is right next to the stadium. Now, all the players know this stuff, right? So they're going to get there. They're not going to get on the bus until 11:30. They're not going to go through their little quick pre-check deal. That flight's going to take off at 1 o'clock. They're going to land at Philly at 3 o'clock in the morning. By the time they get home, it's, 4 in the morning. By the time you get to bed, your kids wake you up in the morning. You got 2 hours of sleep. You're on a short week now going to play on a Sunday game. There's no off day that week. They go in on Tuesday. They're right to work. So just something to keep in mind for these good teams. That's what makes them special is they can handle that stuff. No one really talks about it, but you don't feel good until Fridays anyways. And now you're playing Monday night. So it's something to keep in mind for the week after on who they play.
Yeah. And what we saw to Mike's point earlier about the offensive line, that's the unit that needs to come up big. And they did on Thursday night, man.
Always do.
That was the wall that Swift was able to run behind. Hurts was able to run behind. Outside of whatever A.J. Brown was smoking that night. But, I just love to see that team come together, especially the running backs. Swift 2 times got the Eagles down to the 1, and Hurts just punched it in, and Swift didn't matter. Whoever scored the touchdown, it really didn't matter. At the end of the day, he got one. But you know what, dude, you're right, Colin. I don't know how you guys do it. Bounce back 4 days later and play a 3-hour battle like that.
Thursday night games are brutal. Brutal.
They are, dude. They have to be.
Think about it. These old linemen, man, it's tough, but they keep it still. Like Mike said, how they're built, when they're built like that, when you're built up front, it works. It really does.
48 runs.
When you see teams that aren't built up front, it stands out like a sore thumb. Right? Does it not? Everyone's a football.
Look at the team. Perfect example is the team Minnesota. You can name Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen in their prime years, the last couple of years. That team stunk because they couldn't block.
Well, they're missing the starting center, and they're missing their all-pro left tackle too. So, remember,
dude, 48 runs. Right, you're right. Is that the most rushing attempts that we've ever had in a game?
I don't
know about that. You go to
back in the day, there was a lot.
Where LaShawn in the snow against the Lions. How many times did they run in that game? I mean, I don't know. 48 runs in an NFL game, though, is I mean, that's
You're
neat.
done. The game's over. If you get over 40, it won't even happen, right? Like the game's done. Here's a fun thing, too. I'll never forget. I was doing radio with the Philly Godfather, big sports gambling guy. And he said if the team's missing 2 starters to the offensive line, 99% of the time, the other team hits the cover. So another back to the O-line stuff. I'm not a gambling guy.
Well, New England against the Eagles in the opener, they were missing their 2 guards in that game. And Stevenson, a really good back, they couldn't run the ball.
No.
Minnesota couldn't run the ball the other day against Philly, where they tried to run like 12 times in the game. It's the offensive line is, the Eagles.
They struck gold by a lot of man. Struck gold.
Yeah. Well, it would have been interesting because you remember they drafted Dillard and everybody hated Dillard. They thought he sucked, but he was pretty darn good, Dillard. He just wasn't better than Mailata.
6'8".
Dude, this is my point with Mailata. He's a great left tackle. He's awesome. Who looked at him and said, like, to me, I would have said, I'm going to put this guy. He's so athletic, so explosive, so fast. Not where you think I'm going to say. I would have made him a D tackle and said, try to block that dude. Try to block that dude. Like, he had no position. So you could have just taken him and molded him into anything you wanted. I would have played him at D tackle and said, good luck.
Yeah. But the thing is, you can go draft a D tackle. That's a big old boy. You're right, Mike. I really can't argue against it. I think the Eagles had the luxury because of how well they draft offensive linemen to say, hey, just go learn right next to Jason Peters and Lane Johnson for a couple of years. Just hang with them, become best friends. Landon Dickerson, he's in his wedding. He's the best man. Just hang with them, eat with them, drink with them, do everything with them. And then in 2-3 years, here you roll, right? Jason Kelsey's out the door. Lane will be out the door in a couple of years. They have the guys that replace them. And again, the Eagles, for the next 10 years, knock on wood for Eagles fans, they have the formula.
Well, it's going to be interesting because they drafted Dickerson to be the next Kelsey. Kelsey didn't go, so they moved Dickerson to left guard, and now he's a left guard. Now they drafted Juergens to replace Kelsey. Kelsey didn't go, and now Juergens is playing right guard. Are they going to keep him at right guard? Are they going to eventually move him back to center and then
he'll
have
go to center?
Right guard? But
he'll go to center, and they'll draft a guard or whatever. Who knows? You're right, Mike.
Yeah, but Dickerson was supposed to be the next center, and Kelsey, there was rumbles 2 years ago that he was done, and they ended up moving Dickerson to left, and they said he's so good there. And next to Mailata, I don't want to break up those two, so they went and drafted Juergens.
Speaking of which, did you guys catch the Kelsey documentary yet?
I did not. Boys, you keep rolling. I got to run. I got an engagement I go to, but keep going on the Kelsey stuff. I got to bounce, sadly.
All right, Colin. Good seeing you, buddy. Yeah, we caught it. We the wife and I caught it last night, man. Let me put it this way: over under F-bombs from Kelsey in the Kelsey documentary. I'm going to set it, Mike, at 52.5.
All right. Well, I haven't seen it, and I'll probably take the over.
I should have said 62.5.
I'm just saying, it's in my queue. Because football season's here, and the Phillies are on at the same time, I'm trying to balance all the football I watch. So in the off, we just started The Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix. So I have a show to watch with my girl. She doesn't want to see all football, Kelsey, although I'm sure she would watch it and be interested in it. She don't mind it, but I do have it on the queue for hey, I'm all by myself. Let me just pop on this Kelsey.
Yeah, and it's to your point, like what we talked about yesterday, like the Eagles. I almost felt naked when the Eagles aren't playing on a Sunday. But, we got out there. My kid had his first fall ball baseball game. We got home.
Nothing better than a fall ball game, dude. Fall ball is the best weather.
Yeah. We got the swing fixed up a little bit. He's showing some of that early fall swagger. But, we get home. I'll throw Red Zone on. But at the end of the day, I'm getting pulled out back. We're playing some wiffle ball. We're doing some yard work. We're jumping on the trampoline. I struggle to just sit there and watch an entire football game if it's not the Eagles. That said, I'm still a fan of the 2 fantasy football teams I've been a part of for 25 years. I'm still locked in with my kids if they're engaged with some game or we're watching some, finish come down to the wire. But I don't know, man. It's just too early in the season for that.
Yeah, I can watch 2 teams that I'm not an Eagles fan or that I'm an Eagles fan, but I can watch 2 teams that aren't Eagles. But what I did last night for Sunday Night Football, I have 2 TVs on my outdoor porch.
Yeah.
One TV had the football, and they're both 50, 58 or 60, whatever. So they're good. It's not like a little guy in the corner. I had the football game with the sound off, and we watched Lincoln Lawyers on the other. So I just kept watching. I don't need Rico and Collingsworth telling me what's going on. I can see it, and I'm watching the show. So I killed two birds with one stone.
I love it, man. I love it.
During the non-Eagles game yesterday, I had the Phillies on the one TV, and then YouTube TV, like I said, double box. I had Kansas City, Jacksonville on one. And the other one, what was the other game?
I didn't realize that we've been YouTube family for the last 2 years. We save a good amount of money per month. I see what you're saying. They pop up all the teams. So you're saying you can select those 2 or 3 teams and throw them in the box of 4?
No, they select them for you, but they give you like 10 different options of who's in the game mix. So you might see there's like right now, there's 2 of us here, but if Colin was here and then Jack popped in, it would look like that. There'd be 4 boxes, and then there's a little white box that you can move to the one that you want the audio for.
Wow, that's
a
cool feature.
And the interesting part about it is it's 4 games, but they're not from the same. Like it could be a Fox, an NBC, a CBS, and an ESPN game. It's not like it's all ESPN, like ACC Network, ESPN, and ESPN2. They're bringing them from any network, and boom. So like one box might have West Virginia, Pitt, Penn State, Illinois, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Syracuse, Purdue. Well, then the other offering could be West Virginia, Pitt, LSU. Let's go with, I don't know, Ohio State. And then so some of them appear in multiples, but they change the other games around them. It's pretty cool. I'll send you a picture.
Yeah, no, I think I get what you're. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
Again, we've been YouTube
and they
TV
do it for NFL Sundays now. Like when in the opening window, when there's 2 games, like the CBS games on one and the Fox games on the other, it looks like our screen right now. There's one game on one side and the other game on the other side, and you can watch them both. And I had the Phillies game. I can't remember what the early game was. It was Jacksonville, Kansas City was one. I don't remember, but I was watching them both at the same time.
Well, YouTube TV stock just went through the roof, Mike, thanks to you. But what other stories you got for us from over the weekend, Mike? Anything stand out at you if you did catch some of the NFL?
Oh, well, NFL weekend. I mean, I watched pretty much. I'm a big college football fan, too. I'm a West Virginia, so we had backyard brawl on Saturday night. That place was electric, man. One of the great scenes in college football when West Virginia wins and the whole place stays to sing Country Roads. There's probably
– So that's right. You got two – I'm a Penn State guy. Mike's a West Virginia guy. 1 and 2 top party schools in the country. Is there an argument?
I wouldn't say Penn State's in the same league.
Get the hell out of here. Come on.
I wouldn't. Listen, when I was at West Virginia, so for years, they did the Playboy. Does Playboy still have a magazine?
I haven't seen a Playboy magazine in quite some time, Mike.
No. So if they used to have the Playboy party school list was like the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. The party schools was like the Playboy thing. So for like 2-3 years in a row, when I was at West Virginia, we were number one. And then the next year we opened it. We weren't even on the list. And at the end, there was an asterisk, and it said, "Sorry, West Virginia, professionals weren't included." Yeah.
What year did you graduate West Virginia, Mike?
2000.
2000. All right.
Yeah.
So I was Penn State 2004.
I've been to Penn State 2 or 3 times. I wouldn't put it in the same category, but it's nice.
It's similar. And hey, they're off to a pretty.
I didn't go to a football game. I would imagine a football day, a tailgate at Penn State is probably epic. That stadium looks raucous, but West Virginia was on a different level. I've been to so many different colleges, Mick, because I did play-by-play. So I traveled with the basketball team whenever they went on the road. I went with them. So I went to all the Big East schools. I've been to many different out-of-conference schools. And we always left saying, man, these places are missing out. They don't have what we have. Now, we don't know the same haunts and the thing, places to go. But it's when you hear about West Virginia, they ain't lying, man. It's pandemonium.
My first game I'll never forget, Mike, was a 2001 Thursday night college football game against the number 1 team in the country, the Miami Hurricanes. Clinton Portis at running back, Jeremy Shockey, the tight end, drawing a blank on the QB.
Dorsey?
Dorsey. Yeah, Ken Dorsey. I mean, they completely knocked the living socks off of Penn State. I think the final score was like 40-8. But I'll tell you what, man, no better thrill. 110,000 fans, all decked out in white. Like, there is nothing better than watching.
One of the games I was at, West Virginia played Ohio State. Ohio State was number one, and they had Joe Germain, David Boston. They were loaded with, like, first-rounders everywhere. They kicked the crap out of us that night, but it was an atmosphere like I've never seen. When West Virginia played Miami, Miami was in the Big East back then. So those tailgates got so out of control that the last tailgate, it was West Virginia, Miami. There used to be a place called the Pit, and it was just pandemonium. Cars parked on top of each other, fires burning. They shut that pit down, and it ceases to exist after that tailgate.
That's funny, man. That's funny. Yeah, dude. I'm with you. Like, college football is a great product, really.
College football tailgates are professional, and professional tailgates are amateur.
Maybe they're thought up too much, right? I just like to casually open up the trunk and just grab a couple beers and hang out. People do put a lot of effort into those things, but nah, man, Mike. With that said, like let's close on some Phillies talk as we wrap up the hour here. Appreciate everybody tuning into the Samboner show. It's been nothing but a ton of fun. Glad to see Mike here joining us on Monday mornings. And Colin had to run. But, Mike, give us your take. We got 13 games remaining on the Philadelphia Phillies schedule. The magic number is at 10, I believe. They got a couple games left with the Braves, a series with the Mets, and then a series with the Pirates to close it down.
2 series with the Mets.
2 series. That's right, because after the Pirates, they go Mets again. So what are you thinking here, man, as we wrap up the season and head into the playoff picture?
This Philly season, I've been steadfast since March. This team, obviously, I felt was going to make the playoffs. I never wavered on that, no matter how slow of a start or ups and downs. I said at the beginning of the year, this is not going to be a fun 100-win season. It was going to be a sloth to the end. This season, though, gives me a lot of Eagles, like, post-Super Bowl vibes where Nick Foles came in and you're like, we're going to do it again. And the ball went slipping through Alshon Jeffrey's fingertips. I think they're going to make the playoffs. They might win a series, and then you're going to be like, here we are again. It's all the same. It's all lining up. And I feel like just something's missing. And at the end, it's going to be this game or this series where you're like, we could have won that series, but just didn't have it. And I feel like they're just missing something. Like, Nola's obviously not the same. I don't think Wheeler's the same. Those two guys, people hate Nola. He pitched his ass off in the game against the Astros to get him to the playoffs last year. He shut the Cardinals out in the wild card game, and then he had a great game against Atlanta to get him to the championship series, and then he didn't pitch all that well in the CS or the World Series. Wheeler was dominant, way more dominant consistently last year. He's too up and down. The bullpen's been too up and down. So I feel like they'll get in. They'll probably win a series, but that's probably the ceiling right now. No, I mean, the ceiling is they could win the World Series. I take that back, but I don't see that happening.
Well, there definitely needs to be a little bit more of a upside tick, right? Right now, I think they're under 500 here in the month of September.
And just keep this in mind. Last September, they were 11-14 when they went to the playoffs. In the month of September last year, they were 11-14.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, we certainly have the bats to get us there. And if this Trey Turner kid continues to stay hot, Harper continues to stay hot, I mean, this team can make a serious run. All kidding aside, the odds of the Braves choking again is extremely strong. No, I'm just kidding. But that is an unbelievable baseball team.
I don't love their pitching. I don't think their pitching is like dominantly overwhelming. Their lineup is really deep, but the Phillies got into their bullpen last week and got runs off of them. So
they did. I mean, I still think heading into the week, it's an important series. It would be nice to see them take 2 out of 3. But if they get their clocks cleaned again, I mean, they lost 3 out of 4 last time they played them. If they get swept here, then that's a statement, and that's a serious week. Yeah. So it should be interesting. I'm excited to see how it all shakes out. I think it's an unbelievable time to be just a general sports fan as we wrap up the Phillies regular season and start to kind of kick the NFL into high gear. The first 4 weeks for me are more or less spring training. But that said, it's a beautiful time to be a Samboner. Mike Gill, baby, a Samboner at heart.
You ever been to spring training?
Mike, I had my bachelor party there in 2008 with 30 guys rent out the Hooters box.
Nice.
Right next. It's basically attached to the Phillies. Yeah, shout out Dan McDonough. He always takes care of us at the spring training. I've been there probably a good 6 or 7 times in the last 20 years.
God, I go every year. This will be my 21st season coming up.
Oh, it's the best. Yeah, dude, we met there. Like the first year I was there, my wife and I went on our 1-year anniversary. I met you at a bar right outside, I think, the hotel we were staying at.
Nice. Yeah. Well,
man.
I've been there for so long. We got it all. We already have my dates for next year. We've already booked.
Maybe we'll join you this year, Mike.
Do it.
Mike, give us a little rundown on where everybody can catch you in the afternoon.
2 to 6, 97.3 ESPN down the shore, Atlantic City. We cover 8 South Jersey counties over in Delaware, all the way down to Ocean City, Maryland. So we have a pretty wide signal. We carry the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers. All the Phillies playoff games we'll have. I'm at Ocean Casino every Monday, Chickies and Pizza in Atlantic City every Thursday. All over the place, man. We do a lot. It's a fun time of the year.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, appreciate everybody tuning in. Continue to tune in with us on Monday mornings. Check out Mike Gill, 97.3. Download the app. In my personal opinion, that's some of the best baseball resources right there as we continue to make a pennant race and keep on Samboning, everybody. Mike, appreciate you joining, bud.
All right, Mick. We'll talk to you, buddy.
Sambone around.
Pop that Sambone, and baby, it's on. Driving 45 minutes just to grab a bite. Know that it's worth it when the neon's in sight. My mouth starts to water, my knees get weak. I post up on Insta so that everyone can see. And I put in my order, set up my phone, clear me a table line.